just imagine that this being really truly showed up in its fullness. So I feel like a lot of times we're getting an essence of something. And with that, I feel like over time, hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I am Aradia Arcanum. I'm laughing because it's been a while and I feel kind of awkward doing this video. As a matter of fact, this is my third take. So and it might not be the last take that I do, but I really wanted to make this video. I was tagged in the Hekate witch tag created by Justin Bennett, the Witch of Enchantment. So I want to take part in this tag for several reasons. First, I want to just say one of the reasons it took me a while to do this because I wasn't going to do it. I stepped back from even, sharing things about her because of how people can get. People can get very gatekeepy, very culty. And as a matter of fact, I created a video on my other channel where I had to turn off the comments because it was getting annoying. I was sharing from my perspective, my experience, but, I was being told that was incorrect, or I forget it because it was a while ago. But so from that, I'm like, I don't have time to deal with this. So I wasn't even going to do a video, but it was in listening to a lot of what Justin was saying about, honoring Hekate, venerating Hekate in the modern day, right? Because society, evolution takes place. Things change. We don't do rituals the way they did rituals, ancient rituals, right? Some rituals we get arrested, doing it, going into, the cemetery and doing certain things. Sometimes, it's illegal to go and do things that they did in, ancient times. So things evolve and we have to shift our perspective and, flow with evolution. And stop staying stuck with what, tradition is good, but even in tradition, right? This is my take on it. Even in tradition, you still have to add in, things evolve. You still have to, if you want to stay stuck and not change things and evolve things, that's where you're going to stay while everything else moves on. But that's just my take on it. But that's the reason why I wasn't going to post. So I was a bit hesitant about doing this, but here we are. So I want to jump in and try to answer the questions as best I can. And so I'm going to start with telling you, because that is the first question, my journey into Hekate. So I hope I can answer all these questions, Justin. I didn't sit down and go over, what my answer is going to be. We're just flowing with this. So let's dive in, grab a seat, get some popcorn, because, this may be, I don't know how this is going to go.
Keeper of the keys and three-formed goddess, witch fire queen, with your mighty hounds open the gates for me. O Hekate, open the veil to the unseen, so motivate.
Here we are. So the first question is, how did Hekate first enter your life? As I begin to say, I didn't, Hekate wasn't on my mind. I was not looking to work with any pantheons. As a matter of fact, let me give a little context before I tell you how I got into Hekate. At the time, and I didn't know it, in hindsight, I know it now, I was in transition. At the time I was in a coven, and this was a Wiccan coven. And if you know me, you know my nature by now is not Wiccan. But I am grateful for that experience. I'm grateful for what I learned, the structure of a coven, all the things that, it was knowledge. But I was seeking something else, didn't know what it was. And right, this a lot of times they say, you work with Wicca when you come out of Christianity, because that's like the smooth way. That's just, easing yourself in. But I was looking for something more. So I guess I was like searching, and I didn't know what I was looking for. As a matter of fact, I didn't know I was looking. And I came across a video that was called The Queen of Hell. That was intriguing. So the book was beautiful, beautifully made. I'm a sucker for beautiful grimoires. I will just buy it for the way it looks so I can have it in my library. But I watched the video and they were talking about Hekate. So then I was drawn to this. It was almost like, I felt like Hekate was calling me, because I wasn't looking, the video just popped up. And so then I started doing the research, started digging. I dove in, got the books, and this was all through the primal craft, the way that they work with Hekate. So I didn't begin working with Hekate through the traditional pantheon, like her being this titan in Greek mythology. I began through the lens of the primal craft. So that was my first introduction with Hekate. I worked within the current of the primal craft for some time. And then I decided, let me just take a step back, because, and I'm going to say this here, one of the reasons why I wasn't really going to do this is because of how people can get about Hekate for some reason. And it's not many deities, but with Hekate, it's a lot of gatekeeping. So I felt that. And when you come out of Christianity, those things raise a red flag for you. You're like, oh, hell no, we're not doing this again. I'm not going back that direction. We're moving forward. So, it was I was hearing a lot of, well, these are the only books that you really are recommended for this. These are the only books you should be reading. When I started hearing things like that, and it felt a bit culty, that's just my feeling, my perspective, but that's how it felt. So I was like, you know what? It could be my religious trauma. I don't care, whatever it was. I was like, this doesn't feel right. I'm going to take a step back. I didn't take a step back from working with Hekate. I took a step back from the way that I was working with her through the primal craft. So since then, and this was years ago, since then, I've been working with Hekate's always been there. I was originally what you would classify as a devotee, and now I wouldn't say I'm a devotee because I don't do like Depnon and do all those things, but she has a place in my home always, and I don't think you could see, it's up there. Usually in my videos you could see a picture of her, and I have her altar there, and so she's always in my home. There will be a space for her always in my home, and whether or not she, I go through periods with her. Like, she shows up and she's like, okay, you need to do this now. So it's like she shows up when I need her, when she sees that I need help. She shows up. So I don't want to go too long on that first question. On one question, I just wanted to kind of give an intro, answer the question and just give a little more details about how I came to work with Hekate. So number 2, what aspect or epithet of Hekate do you connect with the most, and why? So for me, and I know this is the one I believe Justin mentioned as well, but since I worked with Lucifer, this is an epithet that I worked with some others, but this is one that I can truly say that I align with. The Hekate Phosphorus. This is this light bringer energy, right? This is illuminating gnosis. So this is the one that I resonate with the most, because when I work with deities, spirit entities, ghosts, goblins, and aliens, all of the above. My main goal is for illumination of my mind. And the other things follow, because I feel like if you are awakened to this gnosis, this education, this knowledge, this wisdom, everything else will follow, right? Because then your eyes will be open to the path you should be taking, the job you should be doing. So I ask for those things indirectly by wanting the illumination of wisdom and understanding, and learning how to evolve my psyches, right? So that is the one that resonates with me the most. So now let's go on to question number 3, and that's, how do you honor Hekate in your daily or monthly practice? As I mentioned, I am not a devotee currently of Hekate. She, as I mentioned, will always be a part of my life. As a matter of fact, this is what, you can't see it here, but the tattoo I have here, if you watch me, that is the tattoo I got for Hekate. She will forever be a presence because she changed my life. When I met Hekate and started working with Hekate, that was at a transition in my life where I really embraced the darker half of the occult, of magic, of spirituality. So, not darker half, but the darker parts, right? And I'm saying half because I feel you need a balance, right? Work with the light and the dark. But that was at the time where the world opened up for me. So she will always have a place with me, close to my heart, my tattoo. But my daily practice with her is, I have the altar, right? So what I used to do before, I'll tell you what I did before when I was a devotee of her. I had, and I did this, when I dive into something, I dive in. And so I had like the 7-day candle for her, and, I decked it out, and I I have a wood sigil disc that I've shared here that I created for her, and I created that and, put that on her altar. But I would each day say invocations to Hekate and light the candle and let that candle burn for a bit throughout the day, and then I would put it out and repeat that the next day. I will wake up and just say some dedications and invocations to her each day. And that was pretty much what I did as a daily practice. But of course, I worked with her in rituals and things that I did, rituals and rites. And now I can say what I do is when I feel drawn to work with her and ask for her help, I'll sit and do a ritual with her and take that same wood disc that I work with Hekate on. I blood it and everything, and I periodically work with her in ritual. So I don't have a daily practice with her, except when I feel like she's like always there, kind of in the background, and I'll call her name and ask for her help or something like that, but not as a devotee currently. So I hope that answered the question. So number 4 is, do you have a dedicated altar or space for her, and what's on it? So I kind of answered that, right? I have my dedicated space for her. I have a candle and her statue of Hekate, and I have very specific things, very specific fetishes that's specific to her. So it's these crystals that I gathered that is I worked with her with, so they're hers. So also at the time when I was working with Hekate heavily, I don't know how I associated the labradorite stone crystal with her. For some reason, that became her stone, and I bought a bunch of labradorite stones after. And so for me, that is Hekate stone. And I just have a few trinkets on the altar. She actually ran out of liquor. I have to get some more. But yeah, so it's just a small altar to dedicate her picture, to get to just have, for her to have a space to come to. Not that she needs a space to come to. What offering do you most enjoy giving Hekate, and what do you think she enjoys? I give her blood. Because again, I didn't start working with Hekate traditionally, right? I came through a different current. So I didn't do the traditional eggs and honey, although over time I did use some of those things, egg and honey and different things. But I traditionally, what I do when I work with Hekate is I give blood. Do I think she enjoys it? I don't know if I would use the word enjoy, but I feel like when you give blood, that is a part of yourself, a part of your life essence. So I feel like that is, I feel like that's a good offering to give, but I'm not going to say she enjoys it. I don't know. I feel like that offering is appreciated. Also, along with that, I feel like it's because I'm dedicating my time with her in doing that. So it's a culmination of the blood, but my offering is the blood. My offering is time. My offering is speaking those words of veneration to her. So it's a culmination of that, really. 6, has Hekate ever appeared to you in a dream, vision, or moment of crisis? So yes, right. I'm pretty good with audible. So I've heard her, and she came to me in a time of crisis, but it's not what you think. It's, she showed up a lot of times, but this was the first time when I started working with her. I remember I was in the grocery store, and this guy was coming toward me, and he didn't look right? Something was off about him. And so I noticed him, and he came to me. I don't even remember what he said because that was years ago, but he said something to me, and it almost looked like he was coming really, really close to me. And this was the weirdest experience. I felt like, because like right before that, I think it was either like days before or the day before, I did an invocation with her. So it felt like something in me, it almost was like something else had control of the will. And it's like she came out, and I felt this protective force. She came out. I forgot, I spoke some words, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just said that. I don't know what I said to the guy. I can't remember, but he stepped back, because I don't know what he saw, but I know I felt as if like something else was looking through my eyes, and I felt like it was Hekate, right? And he backed off and walked away. So my husband Jabbar came up. He was like, what just happened? That guy just like walked off. He looks crazy. But I told him, and I felt that was the first time I've ever felt that, where Hekate came out through me, and it's just like her voice spoke out of me, like to tell a guy like to back off, and whatever I said, I don't remember. But that's not my natural character. I'm like, I mean, you pissed me off, yeah, but I wasn't, I was just curious. I was just seeing if the guy was crazy. So that was like a weird experience. It wasn't a time of crises, but I did feel danger. So yes. Number 7, what lesson has she taught you that changed your life? I can tell you, coming, again, you'll probably hear me reference coming out of Christianity, right? Because that was a big part of my life. But I had to develop, and it could be my nature. As a matter of fact, it is a big part of my nature, and I make sure that I always check my boundaries and see if I'm going too far into something, and, you know, making sure that something doesn't become, you know, too, like, culty for me. Like, I have to, like, make sure I keep my balance. So when working with Hekate, she's helped me realize that stand your ground for the truth, you know, for what it is that you feel. You know, if you feel like I show up in a different way, Hekate, right? If I feel like I need to work with her the way that, you know, she may be telling me everybody else could be saying this is the color candle that she works with. And that may not be the color that I work with, right? So she's helped me, and not just with her, across the board, you know, honor my truth, honor my intuition, you know, honor the way that they are showing up for me, they meaning the spirits and entities, you know, whatever in life, honor the way that it's meant for me and not how everyone else does it. Honor my personal gnosis and not care what everyone else says, right? And I mean, not care what everyone else says when they're trying to gatekeep and be negative about things. So that is what I feel like is a part of the things that she's taught me, you know, always showing up and like giving me that side eye, like, you know, what are you doing? And she'll introduce to me a spirit that I may need to work with to help me continue to grow in that area. So that is what I feel like I know that I learned working with Hekate. How does your queerness or identity influence your devotion to her? Just that is kind of a part of the previous question. I feel like because I want to have, you know, sovereignty, I feel like that is how, you know, that's what I desire, and that is what Hekate is helping me have. So, like, my identity is influenced by working with Hekate, having my own sovereignty. What's your favorite Hecatean ritual, spell, or a sacred tool? I don't have a favorite. I'm trying to think because, you know, I really don't have a favorite. I can say my favorite tool is the wood disc sigil that I create for her. You know, those are what I create for spirits that I've worked with for a long time. So that is because I feel like if I don't have an altar, if I don't have anything, I can grab that wood disc with me. It's carrying the essence of rituals and rites that I've done with Hekate. It has my blood, and it continues to like have my blood on it, right? I used it for years. I want to say, I don't know, it's been like 5 or 6 years. I don't know, maybe more, but I've had that with this, so it's like this is almost like a talisman, and that's my favorite tool. That's actually my favorite tool for all the spirits I work with when I create that, because like I said, you can just grab that wood disc, right, and take what you stick it in your pocketbook or your bag and pull that out if you are somewhere you're not at home, and you can have that with you to use. What advice would you give to someone just starting a path with Hekate? That would be honor your gnosis. And right that's a caveat to that, right? You have to work on building your intuition, right? Connecting to your higher self. You have to work with following your intuition and knowing what that is, knowing those voices. Because with that, when you work with, because we're talking about Hekate, so when you work with Hekate, you are following, you're hearing her, and you're not hearing everyone else's opinion. Yes, it's great to learn, right, the antiquity of Hekate, but even in that, right, because whose antiquity, right, whose culture, right, whose story, right? But just kind of dive into learning all of that, but knowing your voice, your inner voice, your intuition, and that will help you stay true to the way that Hekate is working with you, because it's all personal. We can all do the same, Depnon and all of that, but there always will be something specific about your relationship with that spirit, especially if you become a devotee, and there will always be something personal, something personal for you, and that's unique to you. So really try to honor that inner voice, honor your gnosis, honor your thoughts. If you feel like you've been told this is how Hekate likes something, and you feel that's not it, honor that. Ask yourself why you're feeling like that, and work with that. So that's my advice that I would give. So I hope that I answered these questions the best that I could. Some things, I get a bit weird about. I'm a real personal person. You wouldn't think, right? I have a YouTube channel, but some things are very personal to me, as far as how deep I go with sharing. And this is one of them, right? Because as I shared, everyone has such strong opinions when it comes to working with Hekate. And one of the things that I wanted to share here that this is one of my beliefs, and that is when we work with spirits, and I'm just going to use spirits to classify everything otherworldly, especially deities. Let's go deities. When we work with deities, even angels and demons, right? We're not always connecting with that full-on deity or being. We're connecting with the essence of that being sometimes. Because if you truly think about it, it's like that movie, I think it was called The Dark Sun, where it went through the whole Abramelin ritual. If an angel or demon really, really, truly showed up in their full essence, in the full being, and again, keep in mind, I toggle between, some are, part of my arc, like they're archetypal, right? They're part of my psyche. And some I feel like, they've made a presence, right? So there's this strong presence. So I lean toward more that they are actual beings, whether that's aliens, whatever that is. But in that case, just imagine that this being really truly showed up in its fullness. So I feel like a lot of times we're getting an essence of something. And with that, I feel like over time, our prayers, our venerations have been applied to some of these essences of these beings, deities, and they have created a specific current. So that evolves. So this is why I am in alignment with those that say there's a modern day Hekate, that current, right? And because it has shifted from the way it was done in antiquity. So that is just my belief. I don't believe that when we say we've invoked a spirit, I believe half the times, if not more than half, it is the essence of that being. So that's just my opinion. That's my experience. That is my gnosis. If you have any questions about, want me to elaborate on, as a matter of fact, no. I've elaborated as best that I can here with the way that I work with Hekate, and I hope that helps for anyone that is thinking about working with Hekate. I hope these experiences help you. Anyone that does the tag. Yeah, so that was it for this video. Until the next one, whenever that is, I love you all and into the shadows.